It's a grizzly.
Should we get out of here?
No, we're gonna watch and listen.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Another edition with Open the Door with Grizz and Barb. Hartman, yeah!
Hey, hi, everybody.
So what's going on? Let's see who we got here. Oh, yes. Welcome, Catherine. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, you can support us by sending us stars. I figured out how to do that now. Thanks to you all. Much love and everybody.
Sue. Hi, Aussie Sue. Good to see you.
Very nice. Let's see here, Catherine. We got Diane. Nice to have you. And Aussie Sue. Yeah. So what we got cooking on?
I wonder, are we saying it right, Aussie, or is it Aussie Sue? You can tell us because I know, like my mini
It's probably my accent.
My mini Australian Shepherd, we say Aussie, but I don't know if that's. I don't know.
It's probably right. It probably is Aussie. What have I been saying? Aussie?
But I think I said the same thing. So we'll have to see. We'll see what she says.
Yeah, I'm probably saying it. I apologize.
But thank you for joining us regardless. Today we
absolutely, ladies and gentlemen.
We have Russell back for part 2. He's just a walking encyclopedia on a lot of things, but definitely on Bigfoot and cryptids. And so he's going to tell us a lot of cool things today. He's a lot of
she said that is correct. Boy.
Okay. All right.
So you have got that. Yeah. So let's bring Russell on. Welcome to the show, Mr. Russell. Come on in. How you doing there, kind sir?
Doing good. Hope everybody's well.
Yes.
Yeah, welcome.
Rainy in northern Kentucky. Absolutely. Yes.
Right. Thanks for joining us again, Russell.
Oh, thank you for having me on the show. I've been watching some of Grizzly's other shows to get a kind of feel for what else he does. It's pretty interesting, some of the stuff, and I've kind of had fun watching him. I'm not always a big fan of some of that kind of stuff, but it was interesting to watch. And
never a dull moment, though, is there?
No, never dull.
Yeah, sometimes we end up in the ditch, but
like last night on the show. Apologies to the viewers that were with us.
That's all right.
But we do have a good time.
They're right, Tammy. Hey, welcome to the show,
Hi,
Tammy.
And hey, Chris.
Luna.
Welcome,
So Chris, what's going on? Happy people. Yeah. So I'm excited to have you back, ladies and gentlemen. For the ones that you do not know, he is a VIP. He's actually one of our admins in one of our Facebook groups. So I do think highly of him. And so where are we going to start with tonight, Mr. Russell? What flavor?
I've got a couple of things to talk about, but, we'll take the questions as well. But I thought I'd start with last night's show had some questions about Sasquatch walking in a straight line. So I thought I'd do a little research on that today. I had a little bit of an idea why that is, but I wanted to look into it some more, so I did. And I think the thing to remember is that when you look at a film like the Patterson Gimlin film, that's your best bet to see how the Sasquatch walks. I mean, that's what we have to go on.
Right.
And the things to remember is that Patty is like 500 pounds. So weight distribution and balance are key for a creature that's this large to in the walking process or running or any kind of physical activity they do. But the walking the straight line allows for Patty to keep her center of gravity over that center line. So when her foot lifts off the ground and comes forward, it actually swings to the outside just a little bit and then comes back across in front of her and on the center line. Wow. And then the other leg does the same thing. And when that happens, when that leg is swinging, all the weight is on one leg. So that's considerable. Wow. And by doing that, that keeps her center of gravity over that center line. if she was to walk with her feet side by side, every time she put her foot down, her body weight not only going forward, but would also go to the left or to the right, depending on which foot it was. So by walking a straight line, it keeps her center of gravity in the middle and allows her to stay balanced better. So, that seems to be the reason why she does that. Obviously, we don't know if her hip is constructed the same as a human hip. There may be some differences there in that structural, which we don't know. But we do know that she walks and keeps those feet one in front of the other, pretty typically, in her walking. And that would be the reason for it, is that it allows her center of gravity to stay centered on that line, along with good balance. So,
well,
and
that
that's
actually
typical,
makes sense.
right? Yeah, like of a gait of Sasquatch. When if you are lucky enough to find a track of prints,
trackway.
Yeah, then they'll be straight in a straight line for the most part.
Yep, or certainly a reasonably straight line. If you were to draw a line, each track doesn't necessarily have to fall directly on it, but it could be very close to the center line. And that seems to be pretty common with most trackways that are seen that are attributed to Sasquatch. Now, we don't see a lot of trackways necessarily. We get some. We tend to get a lot in the snow, which makes sense because you don't see long stretches of mud to have these tracks show up in. John Bindernagel had a really good group of tracks. I think he had about 6 tracks, and they were all in the mud. And he made casts of each one. And you could see him when he set the plaster in the cast, that you could see how straight the tracks were, and that was a really good picture that he has of it. So,
wow. Oh yeah, that's John Bindernagel. Talk about one of the greats,
Yeah. Yeah, he was a good friend of mine. I didn't meet him personally, but I got to speak with him many times on the computer, and we talked and quite a bit. I like to listen to his, go back and listen to his lectures now, because they're certainly very interesting. And I'm not sure he's in the camp of Sasquatch being a blood relative, but he would be interested in certainly the whole process that we're going through right now with the DNA work that Melba's doing and so forth. So
yes. Can you share just briefly, like, what's the latest on that? And we're talking about the Sasquatch Genome Project, right? What are the latest results?
Yeah, right now they're working on some Dogman stuff.
Wow.
There again, I'm aware of the Dogman. I have some knowledge on that subject, but it's nothing compared to what the Sasquatch is. That's my basic interest. Is that so? Like I said, the Dogman, I'm aware of it, but it's not something that I do a lot of work researching on.
Right, yeah, but that's interesting. We'll see what how that develops. So what I wanted to mention, because he's a friend of the show, and I think that him, Grizzly Larry Batson is struggling right now with his Parkinson's, and so we want to. I mean,
I did not know that.
We just want, so just thoughts and prayers and love, to go out to Larry. And
I spoke to his son on the computer today, and Larry's had some hard times apparently recently, and so everybody pray for him for sure, because this. I know what the Parkinson's is all about, and you're going to have good days and bad days, but when you get a lot of bad days in a row, it's pretty depressing. So he's going through a lot right now, and Cheryl, his wife too, and they still have a lot of animals there that they're taking care of, and they're trying to support. I mean, they don't want to have them destroyed. So financially, they're always looking for help with that as well. Anybody that wants to help, and it would sure be appreciated.
Yep. And I'll put his Facebook page in the comments at the end of the show a link. So if anybody wants to send them
We're
some
talking Larry Beans.
Batson.
Batson, the animal guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I had no
Yeah.
idea, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Thanks for telling me that.
So yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's but we're just anyway. Hope send good thoughts and prayers and
Yeah,
whatever you
absolutely.
can vibes and whatever.
Yeah, I got to meet Larry at the 2016 Bigfoot conference here in Virginia, and that's where I first met him. And he did a program there as well, and he was really complimentary of my program. For me, it was my first program, and I didn't know what I was doing or anything. I was just trying to give as much information as I could to people, and whether they were interested or not, I don't know necessarily, but they didn't get up and leave the room, so that was a good sign.
That's always good.
But I got to meet Larry there, and he's been a good friend. And for a while, I worked with him on his show when he was doing a Bigfoot show on Friday nights, and he decided to kind of slow down on that for a while, and I don't think he's doing it anymore. So, but
yes,
he's a good friend. So.
D Worm asked, yes, Larry is an artist also. Russell's an artist as well, but yeah, Larry is a great wildlife and a forensic artist. That many people have talked to him. He's done sketches for people as far as what they saw with Bigfoot.
He's a very good artist. He's got a lot of stuff. He's got stuff for sale too. If you have any interest.
Okay. Well then, again, check that Facebook.
He and I got along real well because I'm an artist as well, and I do a lot of wildlife stuff myself. So I'm doing some
incredibly talented. Wow.
Some of the stuff I'm doing with my Sasquatch oriented artwork is going to be in my book. So I'm trying to do some stuff in my book, and I've talked to another person who's a good artist as well, and she's going to add some stuff to my book as well. So we're going to have a lot of good pictures to work with, and stay away from photographs.
Okay. Oh, that sounds, I can't wait. Wow. So let's see. Oh, you know what? I wanted to ask you, because we didn't really get into it, and I just watched it yesterday again. The movie, Cultured Bigfoot. It's on Prime. If anybody wants to see it, it's a great movie. It's a documentary, and it's fantastic.
And it's a very interesting movie. Bill Lancaster is a good friend of mine, and there again, I met him at that conference as well in 2016. And he asked me, he said, "Well, I'm trying to do this documentary about researchers, not so much about Sasquatch, but about the researchers, and find out what their background is and what their interests were and how they got into it and all that kind of stuff." So he asked me if I'd be willing to go to be part of it, and I said, "Sure, absolutely." And he's got a number of well-known researchers in there as well, Dr. Meldrum and Cliff and Bobo, and he got interviews with all those folks. And so the movie is very interesting because instead of spending a lot of time talking about Sasquatch sightings and stuff, it's more about the individual researchers and how they got into it and so forth. So it's a different point of view. And his wife does a great job with the commentary. She's got the perfect voice for it too. So.
Oh, I didn't realize that was his wife. Yeah, she's great. It's just great, just well done. Yeah. So Russell stars in that. So yeah, check that out.
I'm not sure I'm a star. I was kind of in the background. It's like kind of like just a piece.
That was cool. That was cool. So you know what? Before we get into anything else, you had sent some pretty cool pictures about medicine wheels, and I want to see. I sent them to Grizzly, but I want to see if I can present them myself because I have them in my queue, and I was able to do this last night. So let's see if I have.
Okay, sounds good.
Let's see. That's not.
So while she's doing that, I got a question because I'm ignorant, and I greatly appreciate your help last night. I'm not very keen on Dogman, so we looked at a print out in the middle of a field, and so when we look at prints, whether it's Sasquatch, Dogman, why is it that when we see Dogman, we think it's bipedal, and then we see pictures of Dogman that looks like a dog, like a canine?
Right.
Why is that? Is there two different types?
Well, I
Or
don't know that much about that, but
see, I don't
certainly
either.
the name implies a dog type character, so it has to have that look, and has the look where it can go on to all fours, the same as a dog would. But the track you looked at last night that we kind of scrutinized, and I firmly believe that, if it was walking on two legs, it could have been a dog man. It's possible, but I tend to think it was just a regular dog, based on the track itself and the shape. It's like those kind of things are pretty easy to see once you know what you're looking at. And
right. No, absolutely.
Where the mountain lion,
What happened, Barb?
I'm sorry. I'm still sorry,
Yeah.
guys. Oh, brother.
No, that was my question, because we've seen pictures of people have alleged Dogman pictures, and it looks like a dog.
Right.
And then we see pictures of alleged pictures of Dogman, and it's standing up, and it looks human with the dog face.
Right.
So
and
it's
it
like,
does. And that's part of the deal with them, is that they can walk on 2 feet. Now, they, of course, if you look at them, the sightings that I'm familiar with, they have the hind leg that looks like your dog. Okay, so that's a real key for when you're looking at pictures or photographs or whatever of them. I was reading, it was a newspaper clipping recently that came out, and I was looking through it thinking maybe it might be a Sasquatch the way they were talking about it, but they talked about it having claws. They talked about it having the leg like a hind leg of a dog, and it certainly eliminates the Sasquatch. He's not like that at all. So.
Right.
I'm working on it, guys. Sorry. Okay.
No,
all right. I think I have it. All right. Cool. All right.
All right, here.
All right. Can you see that? All right.
Yep. Okay. What we're looking at here is obviously a teepee, but on the teepee there is a circular mark on it, and it's a decoration that they put on the teepee that is believed to be a medicine wheel. There's a small one and a larger one.
Yeah, I see it.
The medicine wheels are pretty interesting because the Native Americans built these things, and some of them are quite old. And there's one in particular, look at my notes here. It's like the Bighorn medicine wheel is the largest medicine wheel in North America. It's 80 feet across. It's got spokes coming out of the center of it that are 28 of them total. So it's a very large one. There's a picture coming up as well with that.
That's like Lexington. Lexington is like a wagon wheel with spokes in it. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
I didn't know
because
that.
I lived in
Whoa.
Lexington. Yes.
Whoa.
And what happened? But yeah, so Lexington,
Sorry.
ladies and gentlemen,
Trying
the
to get the other one.
city looks like a
Whoa.
wagon wheel with spokes, and that's the way the city looks. That is
cool.
interesting. And
Wow.
And another interesting thing about the medicine wheels are that there's approximately around 80 of them known today. There might be a few more, but they vary in size. But interestingly enough, 66% of them are in Alberta.
really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
not know
why
that.
would that be? Well, possibility is the ley lines that go around the earth, they come together. There's 28 of them that come together on a single point in Alberta. Now, the Native Americans didn't know about that, obviously, but they may have been able to feel the energy levels that come along these ley lines. And that may have been the reason that they built so many of these in Alberta. We don't know for sure, and it's just a theory, but it seems like it's kind of coincidental that spoke
Yeah.
where all those ley lines come together is in Alberta, and Alberta happens to be the largest concentration of the medicine wheels.
Wow.
That's
So interesting
interesting.
stuff.
That's really, wait, can you see that? I'm sorry. Can you see? No, you guys can't. You can't see that, can you?
Don't say anything.
And so, what does the medicine wheel have to do with Sasquatch? Well, it's like there is a particular researcher that I know through a friend. I don't know personally, but she has been researching in a particular area for about 4 or 5 years, and the Sasquatch had built a medicine wheel, a smaller one, I think it was about 8 to 10 feet across.
To you, Grizzly. I'm sorry. I just sent it to you through our chat. Your and mine and yours, our chat.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, I'm so sorry.
And so when she started doing her research in this area, she's by the way, she's a specialist in being able to talk to dolphins. She is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She's really into that. That's what she's known for. And but her ability to use her mind to be able to talk with them is how she got into the Sasquatch. Looking into that and doing some research on it. But anyway, the area that she was in, the Sasquatch had built a medicine wheel. And when she got there and started getting to interact with this family of Sasquatch, they built a second one, a smaller one, but they built it overnight. And it was supposed to be kind of like a monument to her, apparently. And you can see here, you see the spokes in the medicine wheel. You think that's what it is.
Yeah.
And why it's used as decoration on there. But this person, her research is the only person that I know of that has evidence of the Sasquatch building a medicine wheel. This is the big medicine wheel. It's got a fence around it. That's added. That's not part of the medicine wheel. But this is the big one. So you get an idea of what it looks like. These medicine wheels are all made out of rocks and put into a circle. They have a spoke in the center, which is sometimes a small circle, and then they have all the spokes running out from that. And the Native Americans used them for a number of different things. They were used for astronomical and spiritual teaching purposes. This is a petroglyph made by Native Americans of a different type of medicine wheel. Instead of the spokes going out in a number all the way around the wheel, they only go out at the directions of north, south, east, and west. And then the outside part, I'm not sure what the significance of that is, but it's a different sort of look. And the medicine wheels do have some different shapes and stuff in the center of it from occasionally. But it's pretty interesting how they were made and seemingly not used for, they did some dances and whatever you want to call that. It's like a program or something that they were doing towards the solstice or something like that.
Okay.
They have some reason for doing it. And the picture in the right is the picture at the person's research area. The large one was the original one that was there, and then after a few months, they built the second one, the smaller one, right next to it.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
And this one has wood. Sometimes they do. They're not always built out of just rocks, but sometimes they have wood. They have seashells. They're getting nearer the seashore. They would have seashells to work with. So,
wow.
And the person at this research site says that she thinks that they built it to let her know that they were there as a family group, and they come by at night and often leave different things and move things around in it, and to let her know that they're there on a regular basis. They leave feathers behind, or they leave, a piece of fruit, or they move some of the rocks around in such a way that she would notice it. And there again, they kind of played with her on it. It's like, this
Wow.
her whole research is very interesting because she got to communicate with them, and it really did some pretty interesting stuff that she was able to find out. So it's and like I said, this is the only researcher that I know that has realized that the Sasquatch had actually built one of these medicine wheels. And that's
Wow.
what it is. It's clearly a medicine wheel. It's not it's not just a stone structure or something random like a glyph or something. It's actually made
Medicine wheel.
So where the Sasquatch got this information on how to build this thing is pretty.
Yeah.
Where did it come from? It's like, did it come from the Native Americans? Probably. Did it come from something that the Sasquatch had seen in another state or another area? I mean, I don't know.
Right.
There again, a lot of questions, but it's interesting. And if anybody out there knows of any other Sasquatch that they can be assured that the Sasquatch did build it, contact me and let me know, because I'd like to know that there's others out there that can do that. But
the construction of it, it reminds me of what, don't you agree, Grizzly, with the tree that Michael Scott had found in his research? It was like the tree, and then Barb Shoop found it was like almost like a fake campfire. But I'm wondering now if they had any plans to turn that into a medicine wheel. I mean, was it now?
It's possible if it was that round shape.
I have to take a look at that again, and I'll have to ask Barb, because I just wonder if that's. I mean, it looked like a campfire. They could have been doing that as also, but wow, interesting. That's great. Thank you.
But they can be different sizes. There's all different sizes of them, and like I said, if you do some research on it, you'll find there's different meanings. Different tribes have different meanings. There was a number of tribes that have been known to build them. The Crow, the Cree, the Comanche, Lakota, Dakota, Blackfeet. Those are all tribes that all are known to have built these medicine wheels. So other tribes may have as well, but they're not as known for it. And there again, these tribes are more the tribes that are in that area of Alberta, Saskatchewan, Montana, and so forth. So they're in the area where these things are being made. So
awesome. That's great.
Interesting.
Yeah, definitely. So you were also going to talk to us today, and like I said, if you want to jump right into, you had some some gifting with popcorn.
Oh, this is interesting too. Mary Green was a very interesting researcher, and I have one of her books. They're really hard to get, but I've talked with Scott Carpenter about her too. He's also a person that knows her, had known her before she passed away. I never got a chance to meet her, but corresponded with her. And she was interesting in where she talks about putting popcorn in a brown paper bag, tying a string on it to tie it closed, and then hang it in a tree about 10 feet off the ground. And what she found happened on numerous occasions when she put this out, the Sasquatch would come out and he would poke at it with a stick and keep poking the bag until he ripped it, and the popcorn fell on the ground, and then it disappeared. Obviously, they ate it. Assumably, it disappeared. So that was pretty interesting. And then I heard that a person that she knew in Oklahoma, a researcher, and she explained what she was doing with the popcorn to her friend, this researcher in Oklahoma. So this person did the same thing, put it in a brown paper bag, tied it up with a string, and hung it about 10 feet off the ground. And lo and behold, what happened was the Sasquatch used a stick and poked the bag and got the popcorn to fall out of it. The same as Mary Green did in Tennessee.
Wow.
This Sasquatch in Oklahoma did the same thing.
Oh my God.
Now, is that a coincidence or what? It's like
That's cool.
Right,
That's really
right.
incredible. Ooh, that makes me want to try that, but I don't know. Maybe not, but I kind of want to try that.
But it's just
Wow.
interesting, why they would do the stick. Now, maybe it has to do with the smell of the popcorn, or the bag. Could be the paper bag, could be anything. It's like, but so far away to do that in two different places is pretty strange, to say the least. So
maybe didn't want to leave their prints on if it's a paper bag, they would definitely leave some prints.
I mean, he's going to have to rip the bag open to get the popcorn out, or pull it down out of the tree. But instead, he didn't do that. It's like he stood back and with a stick poked at it. Like, I don't know.
Exactly
maybe
like you
thought
said.
It was a bee's nest or something. I don't know. It could
Yeah.
be a possibility. I had a person say that to me. Well, maybe they thought it looked like a bee's nest, and it's like very possible. That could be a possibility why they poked at it, and then got different results. Obviously, instead of the bees coming out, they got popcorn. So,
Yeah.
Will they do that, Russell? Have you heard of them doing that with bees' nests, with poking at bees'
I
nests?
haven't. No, I don't have any kind of reports like that.
Okay.
But,
yeah. I know they like to make holes in the ground, because I see that on my property and in my research area. They like to take sticks and poke them into the ground. And I don't know if they're gnawing on the sticks or what they're doing, but the sticks are kind of not at a complete point, but they're definitely looks like they're probably gnawing on them, and so there's a little bit of a point. But
it could be that they were. I look for things that, I wonder about there again. I wonder about everything about these things, but I start poking around. I start thinking about things like their teeth. How do they keep their teeth from, rotting out based on the food and not being able to take care of them and everything? Well, they do eat a lot of tubers, and those tubers have grit on them when they're pulled out of the ground. So that's certainly a possibility to how it helps to clean their teeth. But there was also suggestions that maybe they chewed on certain types of branches. The Native Americans did that, sassafras and other such things. They would chew on them and chew on the stick, and that would be helpful in cleaning the teeth. I mean, that was their purpose with it. So, it's possible that Sasquatch picks this stuff up from the Native Americans as well. So, I mean, they traded with the Native Americans, especially the Cherokee was one tribe that they traded with a lot, and they used a lot of herbs that they traded with. That was what they offered, and what they got back in exchange was food or whatever. They also did a lot of trading with the tribes in British Columbia. And the same thing, they were interested in a type of grass. It's called a camas grass. It's very sweet tasting, and it's very nutritional too. British Columbia University did a study on the nutritional value of the tuber on this grass, and it's all like off the chart. Tremendous amounts of protein and plant protein and all kinds of other things, but they traded for that, and they wanted it. And then obviously the Native Americans traded it between themselves as well. But the Sasquatch was interested in that. If you look at the Osterman account, he talks about them bringing back to the camp these tubers that he had seen on Vancouver Island, and they grew heavily in the Fraser Valley, which is where the gold rush started in British Columbia. And so, the Sasquatch was likely aware of it. And so they would go and be able to grab this grass and yank it out of the ground. And some of the tubers would stay in the ground, but some of them would stay on the grass. And it allowed them to grab handful after handful after handful and then take them back to their encampment where they ate them. So that's how they were able to transport them. Where the Native Americans dug them up and put them in a basket. They cut the grass off and kept them in a basket. But there again, that's just another little thing where where they would have been eating those tubers and getting the grit on it, which would have affected their cleaning their teeth. So
Hey, that Grizzly, does that sound familiar to you? With the bunches of grass?
Yes.
Whoa, I think that's the answer to that question.
Yes.
Where did we find that? Wait, were you?
Mammoth Cave.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Where the guy found all that. I forgot what type of grass it was. It wasn't
and I'm
normal
wondering
grass.
I wonder if it's the same thing.
It was in the V part of the tree, and it was clumps of it with roots.
Yep.
Being dried out, it looked like.
Yeah.
And it was all in this area. He said the first few patches, he didn't think nothing of it. But when him and his son looked through the woods, it was like, what's going on here? Because they were far off the beaten the path. And it was like very freaky and scary to them because they'd never seen this before.
So they were drying it in the fork of the tree then, apparently.
Oh wow, there's our wow.
Cool.
I hope we can. I don't remember who that was. I hope if he's
I do. Will.
Oh, you do?
He was on the show the other night. Yeah.
Cool.
Remember? Because he sent me pictures. Remember? Because we shared them on the show.
Great. Well,
there's other tubers. They do the same thing with it. They can pull up. Jerusalem artichokes is another one that was in the Appalachians. They would do the same thing. It's a plant. They pull it up. The tubers and they carry it back to camp. That's how they transport it. Indian potatoes is another one. That was the Cherokee had a lot of that. So there again, those are all tubers that we know that the Sasquatch would eat, and along with that, be able to trade or trade for something else if he wanted dried salmon or whatever in exchange for the things he had to trade. Because when you hear about him trading with the Cherokee or trading with the British Columbia tribes, you wonder what does Sasquatch have to trade? It's like, well, this is the kind of stuff that he would trade. He also was very adept at finding the herbs that the Native Americans were looking for, especially the ones that were difficult to find, and he understood that. Now the Sasquatch may have taught the Native Americans that information about the use of these different herbs for different ailments and stuff. It's possible that's where the Indians got the information. So then the Sasquatch supplied them with the plants through trading, and so the Indians could use them. So there again, more tidbits of information, but that's
great. And in that I don't know if it was on one of our shows or if I heard it somewhere else, but it may have been to a conference I was at. But they were talking about that a lot of the Native Americans or First Nations, they look at the Sasquatch people. It's just another tribe that they have always traded with and have been kind of been made to be more elusive because of whether environmental, situational, whatever. But but they hope that someday they're just recognized as another tribe. So
and a lot of times you're right. They thought of them as another tribe. They knew it wasn't just a single Sasquatch living up in the mountains by itself. They knew that there was a family group, like a tribe, and so they knew that to leave them alone. Obviously, they also felt that they were kind of an overseer of the mountains and other animals and stuff. So the Native Americans had a very high view of the Sasquatch for sure.
Yep. Yeah. So let's see. And then you had also said about Sasquatch food in different areas.
Right, and there's a lot to this as well. The Sasquatch that lives along the shoreline in British Columbia, obviously they're into fish of various kinds that they can catch or steal from the Native Americans. The Native Americans used to, when they would be hauling in their salmon and then hanging them to dry, they would usually take all the waste parts, the guts, the head, the skin, everything they've taken off, and they collect it all and take it out and leave it somewhere for the Sasquatch. And when they did that, the Sasquatch would not come around and steal their salmon.
Oh.
But if they weren't doing that, then the Sasquatch tended to come around and steal some of their salmon, their drying salmon. They would smoke it and stuff too, and that helped to keep them away. But they did have some issues with that. You hear that from time to time in reports from Native Americans. But when the Sasquatch that lives more inland, he doesn't have access to shellfish or salmon or any kind of fish or any of that kind of stuff. He has to eat stuff that he finds in the mountainous areas. Now we're talking about this camas grass, Jerusalem artichokes,
look at that.
Indian potatoes, various other things, and those are all things that they eat in those areas. So
wow.
They don't necessarily, and of course, some will eat meat more than others. I think cat nine tails is another plant that they are really notorious for getting in, eating the tubers. They eat the stalk, they eat the leaves. The whole plant is edible anyway, and so they do that. They also eat, other kinds of small animals and stuff too, but typically it tends to be more deer and elk for the larger animals that they will certainly eat. But when you look at the Albert Osterman account, they didn't eat any meat while he saw them. And William Rowe's account, which was pretty well known in John Green's book as well, they again didn't eat anything. He saw it actually eating leaves and berries off a bush. No sign of bones or anything around where it had spent the night sleeping, and so he didn't seem to be eating meat at that time, but they do certainly eat meat. But.
Yes. What else?
Did you see the picture, Russell, of the grass of the tree?
Oh, okay, that's what that was. All right.
Yeah, so let me bring up a couple pictures. See how it's in the tree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the dirt at the end of it. It's like it's all been put in.
They yanked it.
He said,
yanked it out of the ground, right?
Yeah, just in it. He said when he first noticed it, it was strange because it was it was just everywhere, and when they looked further, it was like everywhere that there was something you can lay it on, and you can look at the roots; they're still fresh, with dirt on them, with the roots on and everything.
Yeah. So by putting them like this, they're probably hoping that the rain will wash off the roots and stuff. The roots are probably the part that they're eating, maybe not the grass part. It's probably the roots. So, they're looking for them to get washed off. They're probably looking for them to dry too. As you know, all these different kinds of tubers and stuff are excellent when you can dry them and keep them for a long time. And
see those back there? Look at that big stash.
Yeah.
Look at all that right there. See?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
so it's
great.
probably twofold. It may be that they were hoping that it would dry out, and maybe they were hoping it would get washed off.
That's cool.
The rain would knock all the dirt off it, and but that's pretty interesting. I've not seen that before or heard anyone talk about that. But that's very interesting. Certainly, yeah.
It's so interesting how so many things, we talk to different people, and then you get your questions answered, or something like, well, what could that be? Could that be something? And there you go. That's because some people had said things to him like, oh, that's probably from a flood and, whatnot. And it just floods aren't going to behave, they're not going to deposit things like that. It's going to be
if it was a flood in that area, those sticks would have been floated off, so they wouldn't be there.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it wouldn't be
Right.
anything to set it on. I mean,
Mhm.
you want to always look at the
Right.
other possibilities. Why this is why you're seeing what it is, and so forth. But you know, when you come up with stuff like that, you really got to be able to support that, and you would quickly suspect that all these branches that are laying on the ground and everything would all be floated away if there was flooding in there. So
Mhm.
you don't see that, so that would
Yeah.
kind of eliminate that possibility,
Excuse
I
me.
would think. But
Yeah. So Yolanda had said, yeah, she wonders if this is the same as what we grew up learning about when you have a meal. You would leave some eaten food or an extra plate out for the spirits. That's cool.
yeah, that's possible. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, and there again, the Native Americans were very well aware of Sasquatch. Doesn't matter what tribe you're dealing with, they've got a name in their language for the Sasquatch.
Mhm.
Some of them weren't as friendly towards the Indians as others, but there again, that comes back to my theory that there's at least 3 types of Sasquatch out there. Some that are more Native American looking, some of them are not. So there could be different sizes. I kind of compare it to the canine family. When you look at your canine family, you see a wolf, you see a coyote, you see a fox. You know, they're all canines. They're similar in look, but they're different in color, different in size, and they have some differences. So if there are as many as 3 Sasquatch out there that are different types, then that would certainly be along the same line as what the canine family thinking would be as a comparison. Different colors, different sizes, maybe a different look in the face, maybe, not as much hair or whatever, and all those type of things. So,
You know what we need to do with Russell? We need to hook him up with Val.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
Them two would have a heyday.
Wow.
You,
I could listen to you.
have you ever met Val? You know who Val is?
no.
Val is
I do know. I have seen him. Yes, he was on one of your shows.
Yeah.
Yes, he's
Okay,
got
yeah.
databases, and
Yeah.
he has got ties with Indian tribes.
Yeah.
And you can ask him anything about Sasquatch. He'll go, we have 343 cases in the past 2 years that involved gunshots.
Yeah.
And now those 343 cases, I mean, he'll break it down
Yeah.
by statistics.
I do remember seeing him, on one of your shows. Yep, yep.
Wow.
And he was very interesting too. He's very deliberate. He has he has what I call the Bill Belichick way of speaking to the media.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's very deliberate. He's very. There's a long pause. He's thinking of what he's going to say and how he's going to say it, but when I listened to him on your show, I did find him very interesting. Definitely.
I gotta hook you two up. Yeah, because he will really help you out a lot. And last week he entered, I think, 1,200 incidents in his database.
Wow.
So yes. He
Chris,
actually invited the BFRO on our show, and I was like, "You did what?" And I'm like, "Wait a minute now, hold up." And because I'm like, "Man, this is gonna be some fireworks, ladies and gentlemen," and they never did show up. I was like, thank goodness, because I didn't know what direction this was gonna go.
Yeah.
Right.
No disrespect, BFRO.
No.
But I mean, Val is black and white, and this is how things are, and this is his statistics, and he's got ammo to back his stuff. And if you don't believe him, he'll bring up the Indians, and he'll bring them on the show.
Yeah.
And so yes.
Yeah,
and
he's very, very interesting to listen to. I did enjoy him, and would love to be on the show with him sometime.
I'm gonna arrange that for you.
Yeah, let me know. I want to see that. I definitely, I love to.
I'm gonna have that arranged. So yeah,
I love to listen to Val.
I'm gonna get a hold of Val and say, Val, I got somebody for you.
Yeah, I love to listen to him.
And he's gonna go. Really?
Yeah. And Chris, the fellow that was on your show last night too. I sent a friend request to him, and he was very kind to accept it.
Yeah.
And he's also somebody I've listened to several times, and he's very interesting. A computer with, which is great.
Oh, Chris
nowadays.
Hensley, yes.
Anybody
yes.
that's
yes,
good
he
with a
is.
computer, it's like I can barely turn it on and off. That's about my limit. But yeah, he was very interesting, and his explanation on the tracks and stuff was interesting last night, and I've heard him a couple of other times on your Grizzly show. So yeah, he's a really good guy as well. So.
But we try to have a variety, right? You know,
Right.
because there's so many people, and there's so many different theories, and everybody is not wrong, and everybody's not right. And this is where we all need to come together as a whole and learn from each other instead of being, well, I am Grizzly, and when I say go, and the hell with you, and take the highway. That's not how things work, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And this is the way the community is. And it's sad.
You have to be flexible. Russell. You have to be able to be, there's going to be certain things that we're going to learn, that we're going to get better educated on this topic. And then something that I may have talked about in the past was found out to be incorrect because of some new information or new research or whatever. And that's part of the process. I mean, you're not always going to have the right answer. And sometimes there are no answers. And so it's a matter of the whole process playing out, and you have to be able to take that and realize that maybe you weren't right about that, and maybe you need to look in a different direction and go from there. But I watched one of Grizzly's shows with the paranormal people that had the psychic on there. And that was pretty interesting. I asked her what my spirit bird was supposed to be, and she paused for a minute and then said, I think it's an owl. And I thought Grizzly was going to fall out of his chair.
Yeah.
Wow, that's true. I can see that.
I was like, God, that's a Russell.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
wow.
That was Kelly Jo. Kelly Jo, I mean, she has never been wrong with anything. When I first met her, I thought she was cuckoo, Russell. I was like, man, you are so far off the beaten track. And every time I have eaten crow when it come to her, and when I lost my tooth, broke my tooth, I would call her when I moved. She's like, you're going to the dentist, aren't you? Call me when you get done, honey. Click. And I'm like, damn you, Kelly. But yes, but I mean, I'm telling you. So,
and I asked her another question as well, and she thought about it a minute, but then she was really honest. She said, "I don't know what the answer to that is." So, I respect that from someone like that does that kind of work, because it's like you're not always going to see. Apparently, I mean, I'm not into that very much, but I was just curious to watch Grizzly's show and see. So I couldn't help myself but ask a couple questions.
Sure.
And see how it turned out. But I was kind of curious anyway. So
Russell, I'll tell you how bad it is. I'll be working during the day, and Barb knows this. I'll get phone calls from them. Grizzly, you know so-and-so? I'm like, no, why? Because they won't shut up and leave me alone. I got to tell you something. And once they tell me, I'm like, thank God, now I got to go. What do you mean you got to go? Because now they're gone. They've been wanting me to tell you this. You won't answer your phone. And once I tell you this message, they just walk out of my room. They're like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
And Russell, they do this to me all the time.
Wow.
And and they give me messages, and like I'll be on the phone with one of them, and they're like, hey, wait a minute, who's over at your house? Who'd you just walk by? Put him on the phone. I got a message for him. I'm like, oh, are you serious? I'm like, here you go, Mom.
Have they had any lottery numbers for you or anything?
They don't do lottery numbers, and they don't do health.
Darn it.
Yeah, they don't do stuff like that. Now, if they know something is medically wrong with you or something like that, they'll hint around, hey, you probably may want to go see a doctor and get something checked out. They won't tell you what, but they just probably say just go get a follow up.
Yeah.
Now we have a couple of them that I know. The old term is witch doctors, and that's from the old back in the medieval ages, where they can look at you and they can tell exactly the year, month, date, and time that you're going to pass.
Ooh.
And those people are scary, because I met two of them. And when we locked eyes, I'm like, yep, you just read me. And I know exactly what you just saw. And they're like, how'd you know? I'm like, don't worry about it. So, because I have a second outlook on life, because I had cancer before, Mr. Russell. So they found it by mistake. So, but it's interesting to be associated with some of these, because I do that crime show on Fridays.
Yeah, I'll be watching that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and this is going to be interesting. So I've got two other cases that's being looking at. One of them is in UK after this week's show. But man, this one's not adding up, Mr. Russell. This is sad. But also talk about Bigfoot and Sasquatch. We're going back in history, aren't we? About a topic that we were talking about before the show, weren't we?
Yeah.
About Davy Crockett and Daniel Boone.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Davy Crockett's encounter is documented. He wrote it down in a letter and sent it to his brother-in-law. So we have documentation on his account. Daniel Boone, on the other hand, we don't have a real documentation. There are 3 stories out there that are all linked to Daniel Boone and him killing a possible Bigfoot, Sasquatch. And of the 3, the one I've looked at the most is the one that I like is where his son actually fired the first shot at the Sasquatch. And Daniel Boone heard the shot and came running. And when he did, the Sasquatch had picked up his son and dropped him on the ground, or kind of thrown him down to the ground, just as Daniel Boone was coming on the scene. He pulled his gun up and fired, and he killed the Sasquatch immediately. His bullet actually penetrated the eye socket.
Oh, wow.
And it killed it instantly. But from then on, he talks about his son is okay. He's shaken, obviously, but he said, "How did you miss shooting at it?" And the son said, "I didn't miss. I shot right at his heart." And so Daniel Boone went up and looked, and sure enough, there was a bullet hole there over where his heart should be. And so he took out his tomahawk and opened up the chest cavity of the Bigfoot, and found that there was a plate of bone in there. It wasn't ribs like what the human has. It was solid. It was 3/4 of an inch thick, is an estimate. But it was a bony substance that filled his chest like a police officer would wear his jacket. It was like that, and then it wrapped around to the back of his body. I thought that was interesting, because I've never heard of anything like that. But on the other hand, I've never heard of anybody that's been able to have one to cut open. So, and where he used the tomahawk to cut it open, that also sounds very mountain man like. He could have used a knife, but no, he used the tomahawk. So that particular sighting and the way that played out, that particular story is the one I like the best of the 3. Now I may be totally off the wall. It might be more actual facts in the other 2, but this particular one just strikes me as interesting because of all the things that went on during the entire start to finish of it. So
that's very interesting about the bony plate in his chest, because I think that I'd never heard that version, and I feel like I've actually said, I wonder if they have bony plates in their skull and their body that you can't just shoot them
Right.
like
I mean,
or another.
there's bound to be some different physical things compared to a human.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a scientific name for Sasquatch now, thanks to Melba's study, the Homo sapien cognatus, which in Latin means a blood relative. And so, if that's the case, I mean, there's going to be some things that are going to be similar to us as humans, but we also know there are other things that are not. And they have some special gifts that we don't know about. Their eyesight is better. They have different muscle structure. Their trapezius muscle, how it attaches up on the head, is very different from a human. And it has to be that way because of the way they're constructed. But that's different. And this bony plate, I just found that very interesting because it's like, who would even think of that? I mean, why would you, if you didn't see something like that, where would you come up with that as a possibility? So
Right.
So I like that particular account, and maybe nobody else does, but
I do. I like, because we've heard about people shooting at them, and then I took a shot that should have taken him down, and he just or I feel I know I heard it. Watched a witness say that he shot him. It was like point blank, like in the chest with, I don't know, some kind of a big. At least like knocked him over, and the Sasquatch acted like it was just nothing. Just didn't even react to it. And so I guess, that would be a perfect reason why. That's really super interesting.
And then he was using, of course, a musket, so a flintlock, and it was about probably a 50 caliber. I mean, that's what Daniel Boone typically carried, was a 50 caliber. So, that's a pretty hefty, we're talking not a bullet, we're talking a ball. Yeah. So they don't get the same penetration that a bullet does. But when Daniel Boone looked at he scolded his son for missing him, basically. And when he went up and looked and saw the mark where it went through the skin was right over the heart, that's why he had to go further and look, because he couldn't believe that it didn't take him out. So definitely interesting anyway. But.
Yeah. Another thing that I was talking with, Jennifer Appleton, we had her on the show last week.
Yeah, I've seen her on the show. I asked her a few questions.
And she was listening to some of my security, footage from my cameras. And I said, because there was like a lot of clicking and just weird, like clicking and almost like snapping, and she said she wonders if they have a method of like echolocation, that's why they make those noises.
It's possible.
Now, what do you think about that? Yeah. And I was thinking, like, with your friend that is into like with the dolphin, like that can speak with dolphins. So she would be familiar with that. And I wonder if they would have, that's something I don't know. That's
right. I don't know. I would wonder, my first question might be, what would they use it for? What's the intent of it? If they have a special gift, there's usually a reason they have it, and they're able to use it in a certain way that benefits them or scares off a predator or scares off a human, or there's some reason for what they do it. So that would be my first question, to try to understand if that is a possibility. But there again, it's certainly a possibility. They can do the mind speak. We know that. There's people that have done that with them. I personally, I haven't seen one, and though Grizz's psychic says I'm going to see one, so
that's right.
I look forward to that. But
that's cool.
But so they have some special abilities too, and they're able to do some of these things that we don't necessarily understand why they're able to do it, or where it came from, or whatever. But there again, it's all part of the question and answers when you're looking into the research of these creatures, because it's they certainly have a lot of things going on that we don't understand, and there's always going to be more questions than answers. So
yeah. with what I'm hearing is it's always on my lower lower deck camera, which is where I see what I think are juveniles sitting, and where Grizzly, you thought you saw the little people in the robes, which that's a whole other, like, what in the world was that? But we all,
Have you put any more toys out?
No, I haven't.
I know I mentioned that once, and you put some out, and there was something happened. They moved it.
One was gone, and then the other has never turned back up, and then it came back, or it showed back up, and it's still there. So I'm just leaving it under that tree, and it's still there. But I think that's normal also. And I said to them, you can take it, but I think I'm gonna put try to dig out see what I can find to put in that area under my lower deck, because that is in the area that I hear. And I've heard for as long as we have the cameras, I'll hear like a click. It's like a clicking, grinding, snapping, and you don't hear it on any of the other cameras. So, if it's something that, like, well, maybe that's just something that the camera does. I don't know. I don't hear it on any other camera. So
Could be
I said
something
to her,
they do with their teeth or something as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
And that's
yeah.
a possibility. And
and it was even before I heard or even thought about. And so I'm thinking, is it something that they're maybe letting? I mean, I know that they can tell when the camera turns on. So is it maybe
they
letting
know
everybody
that.
else?
Like,
So
so many people tell me, it's like, well, I had my camera out in the woods and I went to take a picture of this footprint or something, and my batteries were dead. And then so I said, shucks, I just put new batteries in it. I get home and then I look at my camera, and the same batteries that were in them is now fully charged. So, the batteries were, the batteries were never empty. They were fully charged the whole time. The camera itself doesn't think the battery is good. That's the difference. And so that some way or other, they're able to manipulate the camera, probably through electromagnetic field or something like that. It could be any number of things. And there's lots of theories out there. I could go all day on theories of radio waves. Radio waves are around us all 24 hours a day. They're everywhere. And these waves could be something that the Sasquatch is able to manipulate some way or another to use for communication or mind speak or whatever. But there again, this theories are abound with these creatures, and it's interesting to hear some of these different things from people, and then take a look at it and see what you think. So as a researcher, I just find it fascinating to listen to other people too. So.
Yeah, I agree. There's a Facebook user. I don't know who it is, though. Do you know who that is, Grizzly?
No, I do not.
Just got home from the hospital today. They put a pacemaker in. Well, I'm glad that you went well and good enough to come home. We don't know who you are, Facebook user, but glad that everything went well with that. They also mentioned that Sasquatch or Bigfoot, they're going to go deeper in the woods for the next couple of days, but then it'll be back to normal for the simple fact of fireworks. And I have seen so
Daniel Boone National Forest, that would be a good place. For me, I'm a couple hours away, but from the Jefferson National Forest, which is a really big place, goes into Tennessee, West Virginia, and Virginia, and there's definitely places in that national forest that hasn't seen a human footprint. So that's a great place to look. It's very remote and everything, but they're definitely there. The Urary National Forest as well in North Carolina is another place that has had sightings. I talked to a newspaper reporter who contacted me that wanted me to talk a little bit about a story that she was writing down there about the possibility of them being there and what my thoughts were and stuff. So that was kind of interesting. I didn't get to see her article when it was done, but it was for some newspaper in that particular area because there had been some sightings of them crossing the road close to that park. So,
wow. Yeah, I think all of the national forests, that's a place to go, right? Like if you really want to get it. And then
The Great Smokies is another good place. You'd have good luck out there too. I mean, it's definitely they're there. So.
Oh yeah, it's Gary.
Gary,
Yeah.
okay, hi
Gary
Gary. Yeah,
Platoon,
all right.
yeah.
Oh, geez,
Yeah, he had his counter when he was in the military, and they shot his butt with truth serum and scared the hell out of him. I'll never forget his interview.
That was a fantastic encounter. Yeah, I had my first audio was in the Gifford Pinchot National Forest. So if anybody likes to camp, and you really think that you want to at least hear a Sasquatch, if you're in, just go for a couple of nights to the.
Don't go by yourself, though.
No, I wouldn't.
Say.
I know.
There's somebody else telling me.
Yeah.
Grizzly, do not go in the woods alone.
That's right. Definitely don't go alone. And if you're out looking for Sasquatch, I personally, I recommend that you don't do it at night.
Yeah.
You're at a huge disadvantage. We know their eyesight is exceptional at night, and you've got your goggles on, trying to halfway see what you can see in that field of view and so forth. There again, it's just a bad idea. You're going to walk into spider webs and all kinds of other things that you're going to encounter when you're out there in the dark wandering around. It's like, I don't recommend that at all. I think you can have as much success during the daytime as you can at night. It's just a matter of being in the right place at the right time and so forth. But Grizz, don't go out by yourself.
Thank you.
Or just, you don't have to get out there and hoot and holler. And I know sometimes some people have success with that, but just get out there and just act like, just enjoy yourself. And that's sometimes will call them in. A lot of times. Yep.
And there again, sometimes they're attracted to children's voices and things like that. Mary Green used to take a radio out and turn the radio on and with certain music and stuff. And she got some responses from that too. So, I mean, there again, those are radio waves you're dealing with, and what Sasquatch can actually do with them, I don't know, but boy, it would be pretty interesting if they could do something with that, because those waves are everywhere. They're surrounding us everywhere we go. So, but it's just a theory.
Yeah, Gary says, So if truth be known, you won't see them unless that's true, unless they want you to see them, unless it's by accident. Because that's
right. Unless Ernie or something, his account where he actually came up on it and didn't know he was there. But that's typically what I would say as well. If you see one, it's because they wanted you to or allowed you to. And our eyesight is so different from theirs that it's huge. So.
Does anybody have any questions for Russell? Because I'm trying to think if we did you guys talk about the footprint with that was on the show last night with
last night's footprint? Yeah, that footprint I think was I feel it was probably a dog. It could have been a wolf if it was in wolf territory, if it was in Alaska or something, by the size of it. But
where was that Grizzly? From
an hour away between the land between the lakes.
Okay. So no wolf then. So with the size of it, I would think it was probably a dog. I mean, the V pad on it is pretty typical of a canine, and the shape of the toes. When the toes come kind of to a point in the middle, that typically is a canine of some sort. Could be a coyote or a fox or wolf or whatever, but typically that's what it is. If you're looking at a mountain lion or bobcat, their track with the toes would be round at the end of the toes. It would kind of be like a crescent moon. It would be that shape over the end of their foot. Where the canines, it kind of goes to a point in the middle. And that's pretty common to understand what those two tracks are when you look at them based on those both those two pieces of information on them. So, yeah.
Maybe a coy dog. Do you know, Grizzly? Are there reports of those? Which is, yeah, that's the cross when the coyote and a canine will.
Right.
So
we had those in Vermont
what
when I
was-
lived up there and worked for the forests and parks. They have the coy dogs up there, and those are probably about 40 or 50 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're pretty good size, where a coyote is more in the 25-pound
Yeah.
range.
Yeah.
I
of saw.
Course, you get into Alaska, you get wolves that are, close to 100 pounds probably.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I saw a coy dog when we lived in Illinois. We lived in Bloomington, Illinois, and it came through our backyard because we lived right off of like a cornfield, right? And it was bigger than our lab, and she was 100 pounds. So it was, and I know that it was a coy dog because people had watched like this den, of them, and they knew that it was definitely, and probably they don't typically get that big, but I'll tell you what, that thing looked like so much like a wolf too, and it was massive. And couldn't believe that it was that big until we did the size comparison. I had my husband take, our dog Cricket out, and I'm like, no, it was bigger than her. So could have been. I don't know.
Yeah, the ones I've seen in Vermont, of course, we were trapped and they were sold for their pelt and all. But as a deputy, I got to see some that were brought into the weigh station and stuff to have them. We had to put a tag on them and stuff for them. But so I got to see some up close, and definitely an interesting cross. They tell you that they won't breed. A dog won't breed with a coyote, but obviously something went on where they had to have
definitely
done at some point.
Right.
They are out there. So
yep. Okay, so it looks like a question. Do you know if they have 5 toes on each foot, or are they like gorillas?
We talking about Sasquatch?
I would think, I think that we're talking about
yeah,
Sasquatch.
it looks like Sasquatch.
Yeah, I would say yes. Yep. I know that there are some tracks that I have seen that have 4 toes. And I've also seen some that have had some foot issues, I would say, based on interbreeding. It tends to show up in the feet sometimes. Could be missing toes, could be abnormal bulges on the side of the foot or something like that. I've seen a number of those things, and would lead me to believe that that's probably what we're looking at there. But it's still a Sasquatch, but it has these other issues because of their interbreeding. So
yeah, 6 toes. I've seen people talk about tracks with 6 toes, and
I have not heard so much about that, but I've heard the 4 toes several times, but not so much about 6. But the one that was well known in the swamp monster there, that was a 3-toed one. The person there had some castings of the track, and that appeared to be what that looked like. But that also had claws and things on it too. So it was something different, I think, overall.
Okay. But, so you don't think that was?
No, that was the the Huntington swamp or swamp monster or something like that. So so that I would say that probably wasn't a squatch, but based on what I could see with those tracks. But
have you heard of the what is it, the Wampus cat? That was, some people were saying possibly that was somebody had said that was possibly what that print was, but no, we determined that was a canine. But have you heard of the Wampus cat?
I haven't. No.
Okay. Yeah, I don't. Really
I've heard of a couple other things talked about on some other podcasts, but I'm not familiar with them either. Some other terms that they used. I ran across an interesting term today that was used where they were talking about a Sasquatch, and the term they used was a matlox, MATLOX. And this was this was 1792 in British Columbia when the Spanish were there in Toblet Inlet, exploring that area. They talked to some Native Americans, and they came up with that particular name was the term they used for the wild man of the woods. Yeah, a matlocks. That's I never heard of that before. So.
No, yeah, but yeah, to look matlocks. I'm gonna look at that.
Another thing to look for, another different name, and there again, sometimes when you put in a name like that, because you find out about it, it'll take you somewhere to some research that would open up some doors and take you somewhere else. So it probably had something to do with the ship that was there. The Spanish may have something to do with that. But
okay. Let's see. Facebook user. Maybe Gary again. A friend of mine and I actually heard one speak in actual human words. But yeah, okay. But then Yolanda said, "Are they only in areas Sasquatch in wooded areas, or Sasquatch only in wooded areas, or can they be out in the open plains?"
Well, they would certainly go out in the open. As there again, whether they're foraging for food or whatever, they're not afraid to go out in the open. But typically, I think you would have to consider them forest dwellers. When we look at the gold rush that went on in California and British Columbia and the Yukon, in each one of those gold rushes, the forest around those towns that sprang up to support the thousands of miners that came into those areas, they needed wood, and so they stripped the hillsides. They cut down every single tree. I mean, because they needed to saw up the lumber for the towns they were building. So that had to push the Sasquatch out of that area because there was no forest left. We see the same thing, with what's going on in Quebec right now. I mean, the forest fires up there are certainly going to be driving the Sasquatch out of that area. They can't stay in that area with the fire being there. And so it's like, they're definitely a forest dweller, and I think they need the forest, but they certainly are not afraid of going out into the open to gather this grass or some other kind of food, or chase down a deer or something. So they're at home in both areas, but I think that certainly the forest is their best cover, where you would most likely find them. So
yeah, okay,
that's some good questions. Yeah.
Yeah,
because we're actually being affected very heavily by the smoke in Kentucky right now.
Yeah, it's here in Virginia today too. Yeah.
Grizzly, what is your thoughts as to Sasquatch being ground dwellers as well as cave dwellers? So I do believe that they use the cave systems across the world. I do believe they use those. Russell, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that they certainly would use them. It can be a sort of cave to it. Sometimes it can be just a ledge that is, overhangs a really big opening, but doesn't go back into the mountain very far. But it's certainly an area that they could use. I would expect that they would. I know that some of the Native Americans talk about that they do use them. They are the cave dwellers. When they know that there are caves around, they're always very cautious to stay away from those areas because they think that they certainly use them. So,
we just lost. Oh my, we just lost.
I wonder if it's the storms, because I know we're having bad storms.
I don't know.
So, because I know it was raining pretty hard just a few moments ago.
Oh, okay. He's in Virginia. I don't know what. Well, call us back, Russell. Yeah. People are talking about. So, are you having a lot of the smoke in your area, Grizzly?
Yeah, we sure are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something that on out here living on the West Coast, I've had never experienced that back east or even in the Midwest. We have it just about every late in the fall. But what is weird, and not to add to, well, whatever, I'm just going to say it.
Yeah, I got cut off.
There you are. Good. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if he was having storms or.
I don't know. There's no storm here, but maybe the black helicopters will start showing up with
Yeah,
you talking
I
on
was
the
Yeah,
show.
there we go. There we go. Right.
And here we go. Because I'm saying, are you having issues with smoke in your area now too, Russell? Are you getting that smoke?
Yes, yeah. There's some down here in Virginia. We've had some. A few other days we've had it. Recently we had a lot of rain, so we didn't have it. But today it was back. Wasn't real bad, but it was definitely there. You could smell it. You could see it like a mist of the fog of the smoke. So.
Yeah, that's what I was telling Grizzly. That's something that, living in the Midwest and I was raised on the East Coast, I'd never really experienced that. We have it just about every year here on the West Coast, and it gets so smoky. And what's odd is that, and I've seen now my friends from, from the East Coast, and is that it has a plastic smell to it. It doesn't smell like a wood fire. And I agree. And I don't know so anyway. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a different smell. You can definitely tell that there's something there that's not usual. But that's
yes. Bad here today. We're crazy witches, and Yolanda, I agree with what you said. We're gonna get knocked
actually concluded. I think they're pointing to that all the fires were started at the same time. And once again, it just goes to show, not trying to be a conspiracy theorist by anything, but what is it trying to cover up? There's always something anymore in society. I just don't get it. Russell.
Catherine, I'll message you on what your question. Oh no, they're kicking Russell out. I'll tell you what, when Russell starts to talk about some things, I've seen many shows that he's on, and they like to interfere with him giving out some knowledge.
Yeah, I do. I do think it's arsonist. Yes, I do.
Yeah, and I saw that we saw that on the West Coast a couple years ago when it was everywhere there were. I think it's environmental. Am I allowed to say the keyword?
Yeah.
Terror.
Yeah, you're kind of breaking up a little bit. So
yeah, there we go. That. Okay. So yeah, but
yeah, I was saying, Russell. Yeah.
We thinking the fires were started intentionally.
Yeah, checking us out. Let's see. So, Facebook user, I watched a DVD years back, and a guy had followed the migration path of a Sasquatch. Took him all the way to Alaska. He's just making I don't think he has a question, right? Okay, we don't find their bodies because they're, go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, they do. Evidently, they do take away their dead. That's what we know from the ones that have been shot and killed. From the eyewitness testimony, they do carry away their dead.
Yeah.
From what we have been told by people, so
the bodies end up in the ocean, or
Yeah, Mary Green talks about in her book where they were the one that she had befriended that died. They had a hole in the ground excavated to put him in. So that was certainly where they were definitely burying him after he passed away. So.
Oh wow! Yeah.
In the Pacific Northwest, because of the just the environment and our weather, a body will only last a few days in the woods. Yeah,
so the body won't last long anyway. Even here in Virginia, I mean, I had a deer that was killed near my property. Was hit by a car, and 4 days. In 4 days, there was nothing left but the skull, some hair, and maybe a few little bits and pieces of bone, and that was it. I mean, it was all gone between the buzzards and the bear and the coyotes and maggots, and everything worked it over, and it just, so that body doesn't last long out there in the woods with all these critters around. So
yeah. Oh, crazy witches from Virginia too. Yep.
Crazy witches in Virginia. Wow. Well, you'll have to friend me. Send me a friend request.
Yeah, and bodies in the ocean. That's also interesting. Yeah, because I live on the Puget Sound, and man, you go in there and they may never find you, which is so creepy. But So,
Well, Russell, I
anybody-
really appreciate you coming on
Yes.
the show and taking time, but I'm definitely going to hook you up with Val.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think
I can't
both of
wait to
y'all will
see
get
that
along
show.
well, and yeah. Because
Yep.
Val would be like, "So, Mr. Russell, how are
That's
you doing
right.
today?" You know,
Ask
you
me
know
some
how
tough
he talks.
questions. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll have some tough questions to ask him too. So
Hey, he will be ready. I'm telling you.
yeah.
He will be. But no, but I really appreciate you taking the time coming. I will
Yes.
have you on anytime, sir.
Yes.
And
Okay,
like I
well,
said,
thank
I will
you.
get that arranged for you. So I appreciate
Yeah.
you.
Well, hook me up with Val. Bring him on your show. I'll certainly come on and be happy to chat with him. He seems like a pretty interesting guy. So maybe I can get some stuff that I've not thought of before. I'm always looking for that kind of information that helps me look in a direction maybe I've not looked in before. So,
Did
and
you
I'm
see
still
the
working
show?
on my book. So,
Russell, did you see the show when Grizzly had and Val had Janice Carter on?
I did. Yeah, I've seen
Oh, that
Janice
was-
Carter before on some other. She's an interesting person for certain.
Yeah.
She's got a lot of really good information on some
Mhm.
things. Other things I'm a little
Well,
question on, but
yeah.
but overall, it's
Yeah.
she got along with Mary Green pretty well for the most part. They had a little bit of a falling out, but
Yeah.
but yeah, she's an interesting person as well for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Mr.
thank
Russell,
you.
guess what we're doing tonight at 10 o'clock?
10
You're
o'clock.
not going to believe it. We're doing a show on people seeing dinosaurs.
Oh my gosh.
I can't hear you. You're kind of breaking up.
Yeah, we are doing a show on people seeing dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs.
Yes. Yeah, you telling me?
Yeah. Where do they hide during the day?
Look, I have no idea, but I have people who are seeing pterodactyls. I'm just saying, ladies and gentlemen, you just got to tune in. I'm telling you. I don't know if they're interdimensional, but I don't know if they're man-made. I don't know if it's Jurassic Park, these damn things being, escaping. But people are coming forward. And
Yeah,
they're swearing on their life that they are seeing dinosaurs. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I went back and did some I don't mean to laugh, but I went back and did some research, and there is some validity to some people's testimony in some Peru country, in countries such as Peru and some other Amazon areas, and I've seen some documentations in the United States of America.
Wow.
Now, I ladies and gentlemen, I don't know. I'm just saying, just 10 o'clock. If you're up and you want to hear about dinosaurs, tune in. You never know what Grizzly's going to bring up or what we're going to talk about, but it's going to be dinosaurs, Mr. Russell.
For sure.
Hey,
For sure, yeah.
So,
we can never say never anymore. That's one thing. It's like you say never, and
That's
then
right.
something proves you wrong.
It's important to listen to, and maybe something will come out of it that you pick up something that's like,
right.
oh wow, that's something I've heard of before, or something. You never know.
Pterodactyl. I mean, Russell. I mean,
yeah, I personally have not seen anything like that, so I
don't want to see a dog man. That's for dang on sure.
The dog man is the same thing. I mean, that's pretty wild too, and I've heard a lot more about that than I have dinosaurs. So.
Yeah.
Well, I have too, but I mean, yes. Anyways, but ladies and gentlemen, from coast to coast around the world, Mr.
Thank
Russell,
you.
we greatly appreciate it. Godspeed. Y'all have a good night. God bless.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Russell.
Thank you.